Thank you, Dame Rosie. And I want to speak to the amendments that are down in my name and the names of my honourable friends and others on the other side of the House in relation to the military covenant, the Armed Forces Covenant, and its application across the United Kingdom, and on the issue of the definition of victims, again on a UK-wide basis, although in this amendment that's actually tabled we talk about the Victims and Survivors Northern Ireland Order 2006, but we do believe that there actually is a need for a definition of a victim on a UK-wide basis. In terms of the Armed Forces Covenant, our Amendment 18 calls for the Secretary of State to publish a report on progress made towards preparing legislation confirming the application of the Armed Forces Covenant in the provision of public services in Northern Ireland. This is important, Dame Rosie, because at the moment we have a situation where, despite the great service of so many in Northern Ireland in the armed forces of the United Kingdom over many, many decades, and this has been recognised far and wide, and the dedication of Northern Ireland men and women in the services, and the very many veterans, therefore, that there isn't the same application of the military covenant in Northern Ireland as there is elsewhere in the United Kingdom. It's an issue that we have, of course, talked about in the confidence and supply arrangements. I look forward to the Minister saying something about how we might progress this when he comes to wind up. But to give an illustration of just how difficult things are, just the other day, on 28th of June, in fact, the chairman of the Select Committee, the Defence Select Committee, who has just spoken, received a letter from the head of the Northern Ireland Civil Service, David Sterling, in which he replied to a previous letter asking about representation from the Northern Ireland Administration on the Ministerial Covenant and Veterans Board. And the head of the Civil Service said that unless and until there is an agreed position on participation by the Northern Ireland Executive, he wasn't in a position to attend or even send another representative. So this is how appalling the situation is, that we can't even have Northern Ireland represented. And even if the Executive were back, there is no doubt that Sinn Féin would block its application in Northern Ireland across a host of services and across a host of departments, as it has done. And, of course, as we know, the Armed Forces Covenant is not about giving preferential treatment to veterans. It's about making sure that they don't lose out as a result of their service. And that should, by any stretch of morality and law, apply in Northern Ireland as it does elsewhere in the United Kingdom. So we are, Dame Rosie, looking for the Government to report on progress on that matter and to ensure that there is a legislative underpinning of the military covenant. Indeed, I noticed today the campaign, I think it was in the Sun newspaper, for legislative underpinning of the military covenant. And indeed, I think I'm right in saying that both of the leadership contenders, certainly one of them has, signed up to that. And I warmly welcome that. And certainly it is a matter that we will be sitting down to discuss as part of the renewal of confidence and supply as to how we can actually in detail move these things forward. The other amendment, Dame Rosie, just very quickly, that I want to speak to is Amendment 19 on the definition of a victim. I did refer to this in the earlier batch of amendments, that the current problem in Northern Ireland is that the definition of victim applies to those equally who have been injured as a result of their own actions and in the perpetration of terrorist atrocities. So, for instance, the Shankill bomber, the man who was injured as his co-terrorist was killed in a bomb explosion that went off and killed many innocent people, but he was injured in that. He is entitled, under the laws that currently stand, to be classified as a victim and therefore to be eligible under proposals brought forward for a victim's pension. And of course, innocent victims, those who were injured as a result of terrorist activities, the families of those who have been left bereaved, find this extremely agonising and an appalling situation, and they want that rectified. And our amendment asks the Government to bring forward a report
which seeks to address this very, very pressing issue. I certainly give way.
I'm very grateful to the right honourable gentleman for giving way. Would you agree with me that this is part of an attempt at historical revisionism that is going on in the province, and this is a really important moment where we need to send a very clear message that this is not about some game to satisfy one side or the other. It's about fairness, it's about decency, and it's about reflecting the truth about what happened.
Well, the honourable member has put the matter extremely eloquently and concisely, and he's absolutely right. What we're bringing forward here is a simple request, a plea for justice and decency and fairness. It cannot be right that the innocent victims are left without a pension because, you know, victims who are self-created by the result of their own terrorist actions are going to benefit as well. And we have to address, therefore, the issues of the military covenant, the treatment of our veterans, the treatment of our victims, and the treatment of our armed forces personnel that the honourable gentleman raised, the chairman of the Defence Select Committee raised in his speech so well previously. These are issues that must be addressed by, certainly, you know, if they're not going to be addressed by this government in the last 2 years, certainly going forward, these have got to be tackled. Justice demands it. I give way to that.
I thank my right honourable friend for giving way. Would he agree with me that it's been deeply frustrating that we've made these arguments time and time again, and yet they've been rebuffed by the government and others as too controversial? But all we're trying to do here is something which is very, very basic: to put into law the dictionary definition of a victim. You're a victim if you're the victim of an act by another person. That's a dictionary definition. That shouldn't be controversial.
I entirely agree with the honourable lady, and I pay tribute to the work that she has done in this area over many years in Northern Ireland and grappled with these issues. But it is frustrating that at times, and I have to say this, that certainly in the Northern Ireland office there has been a well of opposition which has served to obstruct these issues going forward. I don't speak about the current occupants of ministerial office there. I'm talking about a long record of institutionalised opposition to progressing some of these issues. And I do hope that as a result of this debate, and as I say again on this issue also, I look forward to what the Minister has to say, and that we will get finally movement on these important areas of justice and fairness for victims, our armed forces and for our veterans.
Thanks a lot.